Welcome to Kessel Run Collecting, a place for fans of 3 3/4 inch action figures, playsets, and more. And now, here are your hosts, Eric and Rezakai.
Hey. Welcome, listeners, to another episode of Kessel Run Collecting. And Matt and I are here with another guest. This is getting to be fun. Ben Perfetto, diorama maker.
Hello.
How you doing, Ben?
I'm doing good.
So
yeah, it's great to be here.
Yeah, so how me and Ben met was I guess it was 2019 at Hershey Action Figure and Toy Show, I believe it was called.
Yeah.
And I was vending, I was holding ground productions, and Ben was right next to me. And I think we were like the only two diorama guys there, if I remember.
Yeah, we were the only ones.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and then we met through RetroCon, a couple months later? Got to see your R2-D2 and your Astro van.
Yeah. So, Ben, the guy, I don't know. There's probably a term for it. I don't know if it would just be like mini dioramas or something, but what you do is a little bit differently than some people might think of dioramas, where I think some people see play sets as being dioramas, whereas correct me if I'm wrong, but like what you do is more the stuff where it might have action figures in it, but it's not where people are going to be like posing the action figures. It's almost more like a I don't know, like a sculpture, I guess.
Yeah, in a way, it's like a I think of like a set piece from a movie or something, and I just it's almost a freeze frame of that in a way. I have the statues it could be statues or figures or whatever, and I have them glued there in the scene, so it's like a nice set piece. So
yeah. So now, what inspired you to start doing this?
Well, I have to think about that. I've been doing it for a while. I used to watch I used to read like old model books and diorama books like from the 80s. And they used to show wargaming. And at first that's what I was into, and I was like, this is too expensive, because when you see Warhammer and all that, it's like you're spending thousands of dollars by the end of it. So eventually I bought a bunch of statues at a yard sale for a couple bucks. And after watching diorama videos and like people there's a YouTuber named The Budget Jedi that does dioramas on a budget, I got the idea of doing it myself. And slowly they got better over time. I would use better tools or learn new techniques from other fellow diorama enthusiasts.
And The Budget Jedi. I think I've heard of him.
He's great. If you've ever watched his videos, especially if you're new at dioramas, he'll teach you how to make he literally made Yoda's hut from a little kid's army helmet from the dollar store. And it looks like straight from the movie when he was done.
Oh, wow.
He's fun to watch. He hasn't posted in a while, but he posts on Instagram now. I got excited because he follows me on there. I'm like, yes.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that's how I got there. So
yeah, so I'm gonna share some of your photos here, if I can get this thing to work right. Hold on a second. The problem is I'm having some issues here where it wants to share. I'm trying to get it to share.
I got
just single photos.
Google Drive was a pain when I was trying to share it.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was asking me like I needed some sort of permissions, and then
I literally spent an hour trying to figure it out. I had my mom help me. We couldn't figure it out because it's like, do we need you as an editor, a viewer? I never use it much. A friend of mine had me use it to help her with her writing. Like she was writing a book and had me as
oh
an
okay.
editor. But I was like, I don't, yeah. But
Yeah, I've noticed sometimes when I try to share stuff on here, it's like it doesn't want to register. It's there. There we go. Da da da.
yeah, this is one of my earlier builds. Started in Lehigh Valley Comic Con.
Now is that Action Man?
That is, have you heard of the game Fallout?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Fallout. I found Fallout action figures at, where was that? I can't remember. It's sort of like a Hot Topic, but it's mostly movies. I can't remember the name of it, but they had like a bunch of the Lone Wanderer figures for like $20, which was pretty cheap. So I made this one, and like there was another one I made. I haven't found any more Fallout figures since, but
Yeah, it
I
was like
love
once you
these.
said Fallout, I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know, just something about like the color scheme and everything. It reminded me of Action Man. And if you're not familiar with what that is, that's like the British version of GI Joe.
Yeah, I know what you're talking. I own
Yeah.
one of the comic books. It's like Action Comics or something like that, and it's GI Joe just with a different name.
Yeah, my uncle when he was little had one of the vintage GI, like the true vintage 12-inch GI Joes, and he also had an Action Man. And years after he passed away, I inherited him, and unfortunately, the while playing with the Action Man, I broke his arm, and
Oh no,
like, yeah,
it happens. I have like a bunch of the vintage Star Wars toys that my mom got me at a yard sale. And I broke some of the vehicles playing with them when I was little. So
yeah. See, I was one of those kids where I took ridiculous care of my stuff. Like my mom never had to tell me to clean up my toys, but she had to tell me to clean them up faster because I would put everything to, back just perfectly, so nothing got damaged or scratched up. Unfortunately, like my vintage Kenner Star Wars did not survive near as well because the big vehicles, I had to kind of put them all in this one big box, and
yeah,
so a lot of the parts got broken. I remember my Y-wing fighter, the spokes on the engines, like I think they lasted a week till they were busted
wow,
off,
yeah,
which I think happened with a lot of those kids playing with them, and they were kind of a delicate part.
oh yeah, that happened with a lot of vehicles. Some of the toys, I can't remember which one it is. There's a Star Wars vehicle that like, if you have that one specific piece, it triples the value of it. I'm trying to remember here. What was it? It might have been Yoda's hut because there was like a foam to it.
Oh, yeah, that and the vintage Death Star had some foam bits in too. But the thing is almost none of them survive. So it's like if you find one and the foam is still there, you would probably just a light breeze would probably disintegrate it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but because it just disintegrates over time. So even if it's there and intact, it won't be if you even so much as touch it, probably.
Yes. Excuse me. Uh,
So, oh, I didn't notice that this was like micro machines.
yeah, I found at a yard sale one time. Was like, oh, this is perfect because I wanted to make some smaller ones. And what's funny is I had an Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I lost it. And as soon as I sold this one, and as soon as I sold it, I found the Obi-Wan. I was like, are you kidding me?
Well, yeah, hey, you still sold it, so obviously
Oh
it
yeah.
wasn't a deal breaker.
Oh
Yeah,
no,
when I first
people
looked at
loved
this
it.
photo, it was small, and so I just thought it was one of the full scale ones.
Yeah, I haven't found. I buy a lot of my stuff on a budget because I'm trying to make a profit, and I have not found a sand speeder for cheap.
Yeah, well, especially if you get the more accurate. I think it was the Saga collection where they had a the land speeder with the proper paint deco and everything,
Yeah.
and yeah, that one like even at shows and stuff, you don't see it a whole lot. You usually see the Power of the Force 2 and even the original Kenner one. I think you see those more than you see the Saga one.
Oh yeah. A lot of those, the Power of the Force vehicles are like they're a lot cheaper than most of the other vehicles you find.
Well, I think a lot of it is, back in the 90s, they were mass producing that stuff the same way they were when Kenner did it. They just went all out. And so there's a lot more of it out there, but I think also there's less demand because it's older sculpts where they've had time to update everything. Doing this little tiny diorama, it reminds me of a show I went to where all the dioramas the guy did were really small. They were like matchbox car size.
Wow.
So he would have like a case that's, not much bigger than a matchbox car, but it would be, like the Ectomobile or something like that. And he would actually have like a little tiny stretch of road and grass and maybe a couple trees, like just big enough for a matchbox car. And then he also did some that were for hero clicks. So it would just be this tiny little, maybe like inch and a half square, little case. But he would put like a little bit of a background just for that singular action figure.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, talk about mini dioramas.
Oh yeah. Hero clicks are tiny. They're also expensive. I've found a few and I'm like, wait, this little thing here is worth money.
Yeah.
And
Well, they make. Well, no, I won't say made. And I forget who made it. It was I think it might have been Wizards of the Coast that did that was doing Star Wars games, and
oh
they
yeah.
had Star Wars miniatures. So they were basically, they didn't have the little dial on the base, but they were the size of hero clicks.
Yeah, I own
And
those. I totally get weird. I got like a bunch at Five and Below a while back, and then it took me a year to actually find the starter set.
oh yeah, I mean,
So
some of those can be worth something if you have, an obscure chase figure or something like that. Um, I only have two. I bought the AT-AT and took it off the stand just because as a statue, it had a really good paint job. It was a really good sculpt on it, and so to just sit it on a shelf, it was a nice AT-AT model. And when you think about it, I think it was $40. That
geez.
was relatively cheap if you wanted an AT-AT that size of that accuracy and the good paint and everything.
Oh
So
yeah.
I got that not even for the game. I just got that for a statue. And then about a year or two ago, uh, I was at a guy's house who had really collected them hardcore. He had just like a ton of them, and we were there. We were there for a Star Wars collector meetup, and he was like, you interested in any of these? I said, oh, do you have a biker scout? He's like, yeah, sure. So he gave me a biker scout that's sitting on my desk right now.
That's cool.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, if you get a bunch of those and take them off the stand, you could do some pretty cool setups with those. That wouldn't be
Oh yeah.
all that big.
That would be a cool one. I don't know where I put it. I have an ATST micro machine that I wanted to do something with, but I misplaced it. In the move, it's probably floating somewhere in my workshop.
So let me ask you, how did you like you're a lot younger than Matt and I.
Yeah.
We're the old guys here. So for us, I mean, we were growing up with, the original trilogy when it was in its heyday and coming out. Um, what was your intro into Star Wars growing up? Because I'm thinking it was probably Clone Wars was coming out at the time.
For me, it was my family. My mom and dad introduced me to the original trilogy. That's what I watched a lot when I was younger. It wasn't until I was like, I guess like early teens, tweens, when I started watching Clone Wars stuff. So,
And was that when it was fresh and new, right? I mean, it was
yeah,
just
I
currently
watched.
airing, I guess.
Do you remember like the was it the 2D animation for Clone Wars? Like the
Oh
Oh
one.
yeah,
yeah,
the Tarkovsky series.
Yes, that's what I first got introduced to, and I always thought those were cool. I wish they made like a whole series based off of that animation.
yeah. See, I think Matt's on the same wavelength. Like we don't like the animation style for that. But one thing I loved was that was our introduction to General Grievous, and I was like, oh man, I can't wait to see him in Revenge of the Sith. And then it was like, really? He was like
Yeah, they
so
changed
much
him a
more
lot. Like
badass.
his character was not like kind of a sinister looking like dude that could jump up walls and stuff. He's like, I mean, he kind of did some in Revenge of the Sith. He's more like a mustache twirling villain in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember there's some deleted scenes.
Yeah, there's one with him where he
Oh,
kills Shakti. That's a really good scene.
yeah, there's also one about the battle with Obi-Wan was supposed to be a lot bigger.
Oh
So
yeah,
there's like a literal
Yeah.
chase scene.
Yeah, I had heard something about that it was like gonna like Lucas thought it was gonna be too long, and it was like, come on, man, it's like this is supposed to be a Jedi killer, and it's like he goes up against Obi-Wan and he lasts a matter of a couple seconds before he has to run, and yeah, that could have been so much better. That was disappointing as a Grievous fan to have him kind of go out like that.
No, I get you. It's he's like really cool. And did you guys ever play Star Wars Battlefront?
oh of course.
Yeah.
Always fun to play as him. Even the new Battlefront, he's like great.
Well, the only Battlefront I played was I played the very first one, which was what, like PS2, I think.
Yep.
And then I played the second one and rage quit it pretty fast. Because part of the problem was the graphics. Like, I couldn't see the battle droids. They could be like standing right in front of me, but because of the background behind them, I'm like, who's shooting at me? I'd die. And finally, I was like, this is ridiculous. It's almost like the graphics were, I don't know, too good or something like that.
No,
So
I get you. It was for me. It was probably because I was raised on them. They were like the one game we played a lot besides like Ratchet and Clank. They were so great. I love the Galactic Assault mode was so fun, especially with friends. Being
see,
able to work
all I
together.
remember of Battlefront, a lot of it was, you've captured a command post. You've lost a command post.
Oh yeah,
Like
especially on the harder difficulties.
an hour of winning a command post and losing a command post and just not feeling like you're making any headway. Now, I have played the newer Battlefront 2, but I'm not a multiplayer online guy, so I've just played the what do you call it, the solo campaign It's all
Oh
right.
yeah, I get you.
It's okay.
There's one mode, I forget what it's called. I'd have to look into it, that they added. You play against, it's like you and 3 other players fight against bots, and that's like the one mode I play.
Mm-hmm.
Especially Battlefront 2, the newer one got a lot better as time went on. And it's very much fun to play against bots, but when you play against players, sometimes they're super overpowered, and you're like, well, this sucks.
Yeah, I've heard it's gotten better. So now on for example the diorama that I have up here right now, that's one thing I've never dealt with yet is where you're dealing with natural environments. You know, like you have the grass or whatever that's glued on. That's one thing I haven't done. Now Matt's done a little bit with it, and you know what this is called. You have that grass mat. That's really cool.
No, this is not a teddy bear mat. This is what is this, Jim Ben? This is like sod or something you've got laying down there.
It's dried moss, actually. I got it at
Okay.
a craft store.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I use a combination of like hot glue or Elmer's glue. So I put not Elmer's. I put hot glue on the base, and then I attach the moss on and let it dry. Then I comb that area for any stray strands of moss, and then I just kind of repeat until it's fully completed.
Nice.
Then I add the rocks and the terrain and, well, the figures, as you can see here.
So these
Usually
are
it's a lot of
3 inch.
planning.
Now,
Oh.
Matt, what was that like roll up grass mat you had? Was it called like Killing Fields or something?
Yeah, Killing Fields battle mats. There's 2 versions they use now. They have the classic thick teddy bear moss, and now the newer Springfield Springfield grass. Is this Ben? Is this from Michael's? Is this like that Spanish moss or the regular moss that you get from Michael's that you go down?
Yeah, it's reindeer moss.
Reindeer moss. That's what it's called. Okay.
There's like, I have like a whole box full of different versions. You got like a gold tinted one, one that's like more like grass, like a freshly cut lawn grass. And I use that for my terrain, like forest terrain most of the time, because it just looks nicer to me.
Now, does it ever? Because see, I always had a problem with my moss starting to like, I don't know, smell, and as it starts to get old, I don't know, musty. I don't know if it like actually like decays or something. I don't know.
Mine
So
has never done that.
I don't. Maybe 'cause I don't spray mine with like coating or anything, or I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. My moss does smell, like straight out of the bag. It smells.
Yeah, well, you mean the normal smell, yeah, but like mine's kind of old too. Mine's got like a dusty smell. Maybe it just absorbs the dust in the air. Maybe that's what it is.
It might be. From what I can tell with mine, I've never had mine like start smelling weird.
It doesn't smell like horrible. It just smells like, when you open up an old closet full of clothes, and that musty cloth smell hits you.
Yeah,
Kind of like that. So
yeah, I've never noticed. But then again, my workshop's like in a cool basement. So
there you go. Yeah.
Now, Matt, how big are those Killing Field pieces you have? How big do those come in?
Oh, those come in. I think 7 by 5 feet, 7 feet by 5 feet.
Oh my gosh! Really?
Yeah, they'll fill up an entire dining room table.
Wow, I did not think it was that big. But maybe that's something you should look into, Ben, because for you doing those little mini ones, I mean, you could get a lot out of just one piece.
Yeah, I'll pull them up for a second. Let you take a look at their site. They're they're a little on the pricier side. Depending on, well, they are for me anyway. I don't, for a man working at a blue collar job like me. But let me throw this into. Let me share screen. How do I do this? I'll share screen. Chrome tab. All right, here we go. All right, so this is them. Killing Fields terrain. And oh yeah, the new one they got is the Flex Mat. So
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. I've seen these guys before.
yeah, see here's what I got: the 7 foot by 5 foot.
Okay.
And here's the static grass Flex Battle Mat. Which so it's this is a much thicker, and they call it the teddy bear mat. And this is a much. It doesn't have. It's not as thick in the material, so it's easier for this for the. These are based for 28mm tabletop figures, and here's the one that has like a rubber back. So, because see, the backs of these are just cloth. This one has a rubber back.
Yes.
Yeah, but they're real. I mean, yeah, they're good for. I mean, people use them for tabletop gaming, but I use them for my my fantasy dioramas and my Star Wars dioramas, which
I could see that.
Yeah, especially I've yet to buy the spring one though. The static grass one. I'm still using the this one right here, the teddy bear. So it gives you a.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've seen this before.
Yeah, they brought the price down some. It's only $65 now. It was $75 before, I think. Can't remember. I mean,
yeah, for that size. I mean, imagine, Ben, how many dioramas in your scale you could get out of one mat. I mean, you break that down into small dioramas, it doesn't seem so salty.
Yeah. I'll stop sharing now, but
I'll have to look into it in the future. I mean, what I pay for the bags, it's like
it's cheap. Yeah, that the bag's like what, $8 or like $6 or $7? Not even that much, I think.
I have a source I get them from. It's like $1 a bag.
Oh wow, nice.
So that's why it's like super cheap, and I'm like, well, I got a ton of this, and it's $1 a piece. I don't have to worry about sunken in costs, because when you go to Michael's, you're like, holy cow! Or
it
used to be AC Moore when they were still open, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so expensive. Not here.
Hobby Lobby actually has a pretty good selection of stuff like this for, like, they got things for model train layouts. It's in like the same section, but they'll have rocks, grass, water, different little kits like that you can do. I've thought about picking one up because even though my dioramas I generally consider more like playset type stuff.
Yes.
But one thing I've wanted to do is I build Gundam models, and I thought it would be cool to do some where they're standing in amongst the trees or something like that.
That'd be really cool.
But I'm always hesitant to buy stuff. I'm like, well, what if I buy this kit and I'm not really happy with it? Because you can buy these kits where it has a plastic base and all the things you need to do to, say, build a river, or you buy it and it will be the desert, for pyramids or something like that, or volcanoes. Yeah. So I've always been hesitant, like, do I want to buy a kit that just comes with a little bit of everything and see if that will suit, or do I want to buy a lot of the components separately? That's one of the things I haven't done yet.
No, I get you. Like, for me, when I see like people do the rivers and you have the how-to kits, I'm like, I think I'd rather do most of this myself. I still got to learn resin for rivers and stuff. That's one of the things I need to learn, and it would make things much better.
I'm starting that myself. I'm starting to get into water effects. I've been watching a lot of videos. I clear resin and maybe like put a little bit of ink dye into it to give it a different shade of green or blue depending on what you're wanting. On this one we're looking at, Ben, is that the same moss on the ground, or is that like dirt underneath that, or what is that?
Oh, it's a combination. So I use different like boards and bases, I find, and that is a combination of the brown board, some dirt, and the green moss. So it's like a multi-combination of all three.
Now, what are the flower things there? What are they made of?
I don't know, actually. So I I'll go looking around for like weird looking plants, and I'm like, okay, these plants look like Felucia, and I just put them in. I don't fully remember what they're made out of. It's like a combination of leather and foam and wires.
Yeah. It kind of looks like foam now that you mention it for the leaves at the bottom.
Like the tendrils are made, the leaves are made out of leather, and then I don't fully know what the flowers are made out of. They could be made out of like the same material you find for fake flowers, but I'm
Oh, okay.
not positive, honestly. A lot of the stuff I find used, and I'm like, okay, this would be perfect for this scene, or I need to hold on to this. I have like a multiple boxes of just foliage just to choose what I want for each diorama.
Oh, that's nice. Oh yeah.
Yeah, this
This
is the
is
new.
this is one you were telling me you just finished recently.
Yeah, I had this one. I've been working on this one for like 2 years, and I was like, okay, what am I missing? And I found the Ewoks. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. And yeah, this one will be ready for selling.
Yeah, I've always liked, and I'm sure there's a term for this. It wouldn't be urban decay because this obviously isn't urban, but this technology reclaimed by nature kind of stuff.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I'm sure there's a name for it, like an actual name for it, but I've always liked things like this. There's a and you may have seen it, and I've seen other people kind of do their own copy of it, but there was one where, and it wasn't for action figures. I think they took like an Ertl model or something like that of an AT-AT, like it had been abandoned on Endor, and there's all this moss growing on it, and the one back leg, like from the knee down, was like completely broken off and rusted away. And then there was even like a little bit of scaffolding up on the top, almost like some Ewoks made like an observation platform or something.
I remember you showing me this. Yeah, I remember.
I mean, I just absolutely loved that. And I've seen a couple other people try to replicate it with, Kenner AT-ATs and stuff like that. But I don't know. I don't know what it is about that, but I've always loved that look. And I think part of it's because I think, imagine if you were in that world and you come across something like that, and it's almost like a kind of archaeology where it's like, what's the story behind this thing? Why is this out in the middle of the woods?
Yeah.
I mean, it would be like if you were just hiking and you come across a car and you're like, how'd it get here like 2 miles out in the middle of nowhere? And, it looks like it's been here since the 50s. What kind of stories does that tell? And I think that's one of the reasons I like it is, and with ruins too. I've always liked that kind of thing when you have ruins and it makes you wonder, like, okay, was there some giant battle at some point in medieval times, and this is all that's left of this fortress and stuff like that. I just love that kind of storytelling where you don't necessarily even need an answer, but just the fact it raises the question is what I find really, really interesting.
Oh, I wanted to mention, those 2 logs that tripped the ATST?
Mm-hmm.
They're pencil sharpeners.
What?
You wouldn't notice it, but I covered them up. While going out, I found these 2 pencil sharpeners. I'm like, this is what I need, and I do a lot of that stuff. I'll find things that are like broken or no one wants them anymore, and I incorporate them in my dioramas.
Now, were they actually made to look like logs?
Yeah. It was so weird. I was like, this is so weird, but perfect. This is exactly what I need.
Yeah. That is really cool. So is this just on a piece of wood then, like a wood base?
Yeah, it's a wooden base. A lot of my stuff's either wood bases. I've done stuff on jewel cases, like the base of a jewel case.
Okay.
Some plastic bases, it's rare. Usually I use what I can find and try to incorporate it into a diorama. Sometimes I'll even cut them down to a specific size if I want them to be smaller or they're a little bit too weird looking. Like I've gotten bases that were triangles. I'm like, what am I gonna do with this? So I carved it down and sanded it to a nicer size.
Yeah, I don't have these in any particular order. I have some other views of the AT-ST. Now these were 3 3/3 scale too, right?
Yes. This is
I don't-
one of my
I don't-
first.
I don't ever remember seeing those anywhere for sale.
They were. I remember finding them a long time ago at Five and Below. Weirdly enough, there was like a ton of. I think it was Bohemir, if I remember correctly, but I don't remember where else they were sold. I found these used at a. I literally found these at a yard sale in the middle of the rain. Just like the guy had his stuff out, it's pouring, everything's just filling up with water, and I was able to find these guys in a bucket full of water. So I was like,
Wow.
okay, I want these.
Yeah, because I know they made 3 3/4 Hobbit figures, but
I met at RetroCon recently. I met a guy, and him and his friend, they collect only this scale Lord of the Rings figures, and they got like the entire cast. They got like 20 cave trolls and 50 orcs and 30 goblins, and they want to make a giant like battle diorama with these guys.
I don't remember them either. These were 3 3/4.
Yeah, for some reason I thought they.
Oh no, wait, they're 8 inches. I think.
Okay, that makes
Oh,
sense.
okay, okay.
Yeah, because I remember for 8. Yeah, because okay.
Because
Yeah,
I
these are
think they
8
had like
inches.
multi-packs too, didn't they? Where they
Yeah,
would
they
have
did.
like say 4 figures or something in.
Yeah, in between 2 and 4.
Yeah, see, Matt and I are kind of like 3 3/4 inch purists in a lot of ways. Like, I have some 6-inch figures, but you know, my heart's at 3 3/4. That's what we grew up with, and
I'm the same in that matter for
I'll
collecting.
break it. Yeah, I'll break it for very rare, really well. I'll break it for like figures characters I like a lot that I don't like Black Series Grand Admiral Thrawn or
Yeah.
Dritz Stewart from that new 6-inch Dritz that came out there last year. I got.
yeah, I think the thing about 3 3/4, I like to be able to have stuff interact if I wanted to.
Yeah.
You know, especially if you have, say, for example, G.I. Joe in 3 3/4, and then you buy Marauder, and you buy some of their soldier figures or Acid Rain or something like that, and they can kind of all coexist because they're the same scale, but you try doing that and your scales are off, and you lose that option.
No, I get yeah.
Now, what size is this? This is smaller than 3 3/4.
It's smaller because it's an RC car.
Okay, I thought it was because it's very boxy in the front, I guess, from the mechanicals and electronics.
Oh yeah, it's an old RC car that stopped working, and I was like, all right, this would be perfect for a diorama. Grabbed a bunch of like, I had a rock collection, and I collected rocks at an old farm while I was on the job, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna put this together, put on the gold moss, and the muzzle flash took a while because the muzzle flash is made of hot glue and oil paint.
Oh, I thought you took one of them from Star Wars. They had some of those blast effects. I thought you just took one of those and glued it on.
Oh yeah, no. There's I can't remember what YouTube channel. There is what is her name? I think her name's Zubby, and she teaches you how to make muzzle flashes using hot glue. It's literally origami with what is that called? Cookie sheet paper.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put on the hot glue. You got to wait until it dries and you peel it off carefully. And you can get something like I have here. And then I bought oil paints, like a little bit. It was a mixture of, I got yellow and then some red, and I slowly painted it, and that's what I got there.
So the paint sticks to it?
Yeah, it will dry on.
Now,
So-
now is that why you used oil paint specifically? Does that stick better than if you use some other kind? Or is it because it's very clear and you can see through it?
Mainly because it's clear and you can see through it, because depending on the muzzle flash, they're almost see-through.
Yeah.
Especially when you get to like some of the later dioramas, they have blasters, and I wanted the blasters to be see-through. So
Now, speaking of Halo, have you gotten any of the new 3 3/4 inch line of Halo figures?
oh yeah, I have the Warthog. I have like a bunch of the figures. I have like 2 vehicles right next to me in box. I love the set.
I got the I got just the Master Chief, which I then kind of felt silly because I got the Warthog with the same Master Chief in it later.
Oh,
and I gotta tell you, for their price point on those, they are knocking it out of the park, because they have
yes.
they have tons of articulation. Could they have a little bit better range of motion? Yeah, because for example, your Master Chief cannot hold the rifle two-handed. I haven't been able to get him to do that. But they have a lot of articulation. They have joints that aren't overly loose, which is nice. They have good tolerances on them. The sculpt on the Warthog, I think, is just, it's got tons of detail even underneath it. My biggest complaint would be that the wheels don't turn.
Oh, mine have it. It was just like I had to finagle a little bit because of the the
Wait, really?
the metal
You
bar.
could get
Yeah,
Yeah, mine turns.
yeah, mine turn as well. It might be some of them
Wow.
are manufactured a little off. I mean, as
I'll
for
have to take a look, because I didn't even see where it had mechanics to be able to do that.
yeah, it's like a metal bar and
Okay.
kind of place it in.
Okay.
For the articulation, I have the grunts, I have the Marines, I have.
I just
the
bought an
Spartans.
Elite the other day, because they finally offered an Elite single carded now.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
they're-
they are really expanding out. Like, they have the Manus, which is like this two-legged walker, which I think that could probably fit in the Star Wars.
Had that in my hand
I own
yesterday,
that.
by the way.
I bought that as soon as I found. If you want to get them newer, like as soon as they come out, get them at Target, because Target's like one of the first people to have them.
Oh yeah,
That's what I heard.
Besides Walmart. Walmart does as well, but you have to. I don't know if it's scalpers or not, but like they just get bought out straight away.
Well, I saw at Walmart the other day, they also had a accessory pack where it had 2 figures, and then
The
it
gun
had
rack.
like,
Yep.
yeah, all these different weapons. I almost picked it up.
Yep. I almost did too.
Oh, sorry.
My
Yeah.
only complaint with the figures, I think, is, and I realize part of this is because Master Chief in the armor is supposed to be, like almost 7 feet tall or whatever, but a lot of the figures, even the little tiny grunts, feel very big. And if you put those next to a normal 3 3/4 inch line, you would almost say, wait, that's way out of scale. That must be for like 6-inch scale or something like that.
Apparently, the grunts are literally 5'11".
Yeah, you want to measure it with one of the Marines, dude. The Marines are actually 3 3/4.
Yeah. If you see those, then you're like, okay, I get it. All the aliens are bigger,
Yeah.
but if you put them right in with something else, they all feel kind of on the big side.
And they are awesome. Yes, this makes them awesome.
They are so far to me have been like one of the best 3 to 4 inch scale figure lines I've seen. in a
Yeah.
while.
Agreed.
Yeah, and they even have the little ATV, the Mongoose, and they
Yep.
have the ball turrets for the.
Yep. They have 2
I have
versions
that
of the
right next to me
Mongoose.
as well.
It took me a minute I didn't realize the Mongoose came out a year ago or a year and a half ago. Like the early version from Halo 2 version came out. And now in the third it came out twice. The Mongoose did.
Yeah, because you have the regular mongoose and then the gun goose, which
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah,
Oh, I didn't even know that.
yeah, I've been looking for the mongoose, never found it.
yeah.
But
Amazon's where I found it. I had to pay it though, out the nose, because
Oh, yeah.
scammers. Yeah,
I,
yeah.
the gun goose is weird though. I got it's like, have you guys? What is his name? He's an action star, Chuck Norris.
Yeah.
There's one of the Commando movies. I'm pretty sure it's Commando. He has a motorcycle with machine guns on it. So every time I look at the gun goose, that's all I can think of.
You're thinking of Delta Force.
Delta Force, yes, that's the movie.
Yeah. Where he has
So-
the rocket that faces backwards and he just turns around and shoots a guy with the rocket.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's all I could
awesome.
think of when I see the gun goose.
Yeah, it's awesome, dude. Yeah, I couldn't. Wave 2 did not hit in this area at all. I hit one time, and thank God I got the leftovers of it. I picked up the sniper Marine. He was the hardest one to find. I got
The one
the
I don't
Sentinel.
have.
Yeah, and then Wave 3's hitting with those ball turrets and things. That's a great little line, and that really in Halo dioramas are something that really has not really caught on as much yet. That's a great little niche if someone wants to really pour some effort into, because everyone does. I mean, diorama makers are going to do the cantina, a battlefield, the indoor, but like
Mhm.
I think, but like Halo diorama makers are such, because I mean for a long time they were all huge figures from McFarlane. Remember, they were like 5 inches
yeah.
big.
Some of them
So
are
it's
going to be
fun.
on here in the future, like some of the
Oh, yeah?
pictures. Yeah, I got a bunch cheap at one point because a bunch of them are from like when Halo 5 came out, and that line did not do well,
Mm.
especially Portal Lock, because I don't know what they did to Lock, but his feet are terrible, so they get stuck easily. He cannot stand up, so you can
wow.
find him for like $5 brand new.
It's rough.
But so yeah,
I'm glad they went down to 3 3/4. Well, Jazzwares had the Fortnite as well for 6-inch and 3 3/4. They gave the 6-inch to Hasbro, or Fortnite, or Hasbro outbid Fortnite for it, one of the two.
Huh.
Yeah, so 6-inch Fortnite figures are now Hasbro, or before they were
Interesting.
Jazzware. So,
Yeah, Jazzware has gotten a lot.
Well, we all know
better.
that scale is Hasbro's favorite.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Just look at the Rancor. Oh, wait.
Now, this rock here with the striations on it, do you paint that on, or is that how that rock actually is?
That's how the rock was. This is one of the first ones I sold. I sold it to like, what was he? He was like 8 years old.
Oh, nice.
That's the only thing he bought at the Comic-Con. He was adorable. Like on top of it, I was like, okay, $5 deal. My mom wanted to do more. I'm like, I'm not sure. But he was like so cute because he just loved this thing. I was so excited because I knew it went to someone that would cherish it.
Yeah,
It's
that
the best
rock
eight-
is really interesting.
Yeah, that's the best age for playing with for world building. This is all 3 3/4, I assume. Like,
Yeah, this is all 3/4. Well, 3. Yeah,
118.
3 inches.
Here's the other Halo one. Now how big are these?
These
Is
are the 8-inch ones.
Yeah, the
Oh,
McFarlane
okay.
ones.
And
Yeah,
they
the
and they
McFarlanes.
made a mongoose for the 8-inch?
Yep. That one I got. Again, I get most of my stuff used, so I got this like a while back, and I'm like, the guy with the pistol had parts missing, so I was like, okay, what can I do with him? And this is what I had come to mind. On top of it, it lights up, so that smoke cloud lights up.
Yeah, I have another angle of it. Now, that that one little rock you have there is kind of cool. It almost looks like it's coral or something, or a sponge maybe.
I forget what kind of rock it's called, but it's known to be, I think it's pumice. Is
Okay.
what it's
Okay.
called.
Okay.
Yeah, which is known
I've
to
heard it.
float on water.
Yep.
Yeah, if you had a bunch of those, I mean, that really would give that alien landscape look.
I got a bunch of coral, so I've thought of doing a alien diorama.
On your smoke that lights up, were you putting LEDs through it? Is that like cotton?
Yeah, that is. It was a lot of work. It's basically what is that called? You know, the fake snow you can get. Like it's a giant sheet, basically like equivalent of a giant cotton ball, but you can get it for your little Christmas play sets or stuff like that.
It goes around the bottom of a tree. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, I got like you can get a bunch of those for like $1 a piece, and they're $1 a piece, and they're huge. So what I had to do was it was like a equivalent of paint and water mixed up, and I soaked the clouds in that paint water. And eventually I got a little bit I got that smoke look you see there. And then I added the fairy lights, which is behind the brute there.
Yeah, you can see the little black battery box.
Yep.
Yeah, this effect, I always love seeing that, especially when it's executed really well. There's this was a number of years ago, but I remember there was a guy showing off on online. He had this enormous I think he like took part of his basement and did like maybe 10 feet by 10 feet this enormous battle of Hoth. And he utilized this effect. You know, I think he even had a snow speeder, like it was heading for a crash and it was on fire, and he was using it, and it was the first time I had ever seen that technique used, and it was executed really, really well.
You're talking about Barry Riddle. He's on rebelscum.com. He's also on Facebook. In that huge basement, he had just massive AT-ATs, and he took chicken wire with cotton balls, and he glued all the cotton balls together and put a light underneath it to make that light effect like that. Yeah, he did have a crashing snow speed. Yeah, I know the very one you're talking about, Eric. I would think it was awesome.
Yeah, that was that was something else. That was a big diorama. So Ben, how big would you go with a diorama? Have you ever considered doing something like really large with like armies or anything like that?
I haven't, because when I sell these things, this one right here, some of the bigger ones, people already have a hard time with those sizes. So, like, unless I start going on some like eBay, which I've thought about, but I'm still worried about how it would handle shipping.
Yeah. When you have something like this, I mean, the problem with shipping some objects is the cushioning that you put in to try to protect it can sometimes be what ends up damaging it.
Yeah.
If it's something where you don't have enough room for something to flex, and all that padding actually just lets it break easier. So yeah, you're definitely right about that with what you're selling. Yeah, it's not all that easy to just sell online and get it shipped properly.
Now, like some of these other guys, they got like it all put together, or it's entirely like covered in resin. Because I remember I'm part of like multiple diorama groups, and there was this one guy who made a underwater submarine diorama, and it was encased in resin. I'm like,
oh,
well, that
yeah,
won't break.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Where it's like blowing up like from a depth charge or something.
Yep, he paid like, I think he sold it for like $3,000 or something like that.
Oh my gosh,
it was a cool one.
Oh yeah,
he does good work.
Yeah, that was amazing. I remember that making the rounds. The one website, I think I'm on it, but I really should visit it a lot more than I do, is Imperial Shipyards. Because unlike a lot of the other Star Wars collector sites, they're a little bit more focused on dioramas and customs. And I was just thinking the other day, I'm like, why am I not advertising my stuff on there? And so I went and visited the site, and one of the things on the front page, someone did a X-wing hangar diorama type thing, and I'm like, hey, look, it's my old hangar bay lights, and oh look, it's my double gaunt droid. So I guess I'm still getting some advertising by proxy or something, but yeah, I really need to get over there more often.
Yeah, I've never heard of that site. When I saw a lot of the fan stuff, it was usually Facebook or Instagram and all that. No, this is the second Fallout one.
Nice. We were old though. We're used to like old school websites. Social media really didn't take off until like after the prequels for us. So,
you know, quite honestly, I think the world would be better without it at this point. Let's just go back to those old forums.
Like Rebel Scum, ImperialShipyards.net, HisTank.com.
That one I know about. I used to go to that one a lot.
Yak Face is kind of my haunt.
Yeah.
And Rebel Scum, like I have a registration there, but I never really go there or anything. And they changed hands not too long ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Rebel Scum and Yak Face were like two of the places that they started way back when, in kind of the infancy of the internet. Because I remember finding Rebel Scum, and they were kind of like my go-to place because there wasn't really much else out there. And I remember a friend telling me, he's like, oh, you gotta check out this other one, Yak Face. And so I went there, and then I kind of had those two that I went to. And then just kind of over time, I felt Yak Face was a little bit more what I liked over Rebel Scum. And
yeah, I've been like on the old G.I. Joe websites, I think it's
GeneraLJoes.com.
Yeah, that one. I think it's General Dios. And that one used to be about like custom made dioramas, and like one guy used to have a G.I. Joe comic they used with the figures, and I got invested in it. I'm trying to think. There's a few other ones I went to.
There's also His Tank, which is
that was another one I visited frequently.
There was 4 Forest, but I don't think there's a podcast. I don't think they have a website. There's a few I used to visit back when I was really deep in getting back into Joe, but it's been a while. I gotta stay with my old haunt, which is Star Wars. So
yeah, Ben was telling me before we started the show that like G.I. Joe's kind of his thing. That's like his favorite.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Yep. I've been collecting G.I. Joe since I was 5, and I've always been 3-inchers. I saw the 6-inch. They're cool. Like, I'm glad for people that like them. Just not my thing.
Agreed. I started, of course, back when I was a kid, getting the O-rings, and I came out of it when they ended, like even before '94. I ended like '91, '92, because I was going to middle school or high school back then, and one sec, and I recently got back into recently, aka 4 years ago, got back into collecting. And I was just going to collect my O-rings again. I did that. But I saw how much, and I was trying to figure out where new G.I. Joe was. Because I remember seeing G.I. Joe in the store back when I was collecting. Because I never really stopped collecting I stopped collecting Star Wars for a few years.
Yeah.
In the mid-2000s, because I was in college. I was trying to start a family, all the adult stuff, which we won't talk about that. It's just, it was a big, you don't have any money around that time, so as a kid,
that makes sense. You're starting a family.
Around I came back to Star Wars in 2011, 2012, right after the sale. That's when I came back. And I remember seeing some Joe on the pegs then, but I wasn't buying it. I was like, oh, and then around 2017, 18, I went to go look into buying some Joes, and I couldn't find any of them. And I guess they were only on like the fan, like subscription, the subscription club or something like that.
Oh yeah, that is so expensive. It's like $300 or something like that, or more. I don't
For
remember
12
what it
Joes.
is.
Yeah, no.
There's one Joe I wanted because he's my favorite Joe, but I haven't found him for sale anywhere.
Who is it?
Still, Crosshair is his name.
Okay.
He was a sniper. He was like one of my favorite Joes. Like, he's my favorite GI Joe, even though he has like no real like story. He's in the comics, but he's not in the movies or.
I think I remember him. Was it him or Repeater that? What was his outfit like? Let me look him up real quick.
He had a ghillie suit. He was part of the spy troops.
Okay.
Oh, he had a ghillie suit. You know,
yeah.
I was looking to see if anyone sold a ghillie suit for 3 3/4 figures.
Yeah, Crosshair has a ghillie suit. He's actually on eBay. He's not too hard to find. He's a pretty good figure.
Are you looking for it now, Matt?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead and share it then.
Give me a second here.
Because see, what I wanted to do was they had the biker scouts that they released in camouflage. Well, they called them Kashyyyk troopers, but they basically just did a repaint until they actually did make the sculpt for the Kashyyyk troopers.
Yeah.
But I wanted to take those and turn them into snipers, but I wanted them to kind of have these partial ghillie suits on. And I remember like putting it out there. I was asking around. I'm like, does anyone know if there's any figures or a place you can get ghillie suits? So nice to know that they have something like that.
I think what is that company's name? Yep, that's Joe, and that is definitely that's Crosshair.
Yeah, he kind of. I always would get him and Repeater mixed up. Is why, because Repeater was from the comics too. Was it Repeater? And
yeah, I know who you're talking about. He was a heavy machine gunner.
But they both wore like regular caps. They didn't wear helmets or anything. So
yes,
he wore a boonie hat, and Repeater just wore like a regular baseball cap.
I'm trying to think. I think Marauders Inc. might be another one that might have ghillie suits. I don't remember.
Yeah, I think they do. Yeah.
Really? I haven't seen any there.
Let me check it. Marauder.
I always thought they were cool. Like I've never bought any of their stuff, but I was like, oh, okay, I hope you guys do well.
I have a couple things from them. Well, I remember this was this was probably like maybe 15 years ago or something like that. I was at Ben. You probably heard of Steel City Con, you know?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
So you got to go there sometime. It's a pretty decent show, but where it's held now, it used to be held kind of across the parking lot in a different building that was called the Expo Mart. And when I first started going to Steel City Con, that's where they had it, and Marauder was there. And at that point, all they sold was weapons. They didn't.
Yeah,
they hadn't gotten into figures or anything like that. And I thought it was so cool. I got a sniper rifle from them. I got a minigun, and then I got. They had some pulse rifles from Aliens. They had some gun that I think they just kind of made up that was like an alien gun, which would actually fit in perfectly with Halo. Like it looked like it could have been something from Halo. And
I know what you're talking about because I remember reading it was one of the G.I. Joe web pages, and they did an interview with Marauders, and like the three main guns they showed was the assault rifle from Aliens, and then the Halo assault rifle.
No, this wasn't the Halo assault rifle. It looked more like one of the alien guns.
Oh.
but I got a couple of those. And then what really excited me is they had Megatron, the P-38, but it had all the attachments that would make it Megatron. And so I'm like,
Yeah, I know
okay, I got to
you're
get that.
talking
That's
about.
awesome.
It might be a
So-
Chat May that has the ghillie suit. Because I don't see where it would be in here anywhere. But someone has one, because multiple times I thought about buying it. It might be one of those like cheaper Chat May sets.
Huh. Yeah,
But I
I'll have
know
to
it
do some more
exists.
research on it.
Yeah. Anywho, I need to stop sharing now.
I gotta go back here.
Fast forward.
Oh yeah, there's the one. Now is he permanently sitting like that?
Yeah, he is from. So I had another RC car that was the Mongoose. So I separated. That's the Master Chief riding on there,
Yeah.
and I removed him and used the Mongoose for another set. I didn't have the pictures. I have the pictures. They're hidden somewhere. But I sold that one, and then I had this Chief. I'm like, okay, what can I do with him? So I just started playing with him for a couple hours and moving rocks around, and this is what I came up with.
Yeah, it works.
It was one of my favorite simple pieces. Oh, this set.
They're
The weird plants, like the one to the left of Samus.
aquarium, right?
Yep, they were new pieces. They weren't like pulled out of an old aquarium or anything, but like they were meant for fish.
It definitely has like an alien ecology look to it, though.
Let's see. I don't know, like that weird pot plant thing I found one time. Like, this is cool but terrifying because if you look at it up close, it looks like something's gonna crawl right out of it. Even in like when you're holding it, looks like an egg sac or something. Yeah. So this one at RetroCon, as soon as I told the guy that it was all my dioramas are one of a kind, he bought it as soon as I told him.
Oh, yeah, there you go. That's the benefit.
Do you hot glue the figure on, or do you use like something more permanent?
I used to use hot glue, then I realized things fell off, so I use Gorilla Glue now.
Oh, yes, that's stuff. That's why they've been using that in the yeah. Do you use the epoxy version or the straight out of the bottle?
I use the gel version.
Gotcha.
Because the gel, I used to use the regular version, the XL version. Then I found that gel now is like impact proof, like the XL version. So I'm like, well, this is easier to use, and I'm less likely to glue my fingers together.
Yeah.
Well, the regular Gorilla Glue foams too. So so you could put like a dab on something expecting it to take up so much area, and then it just starts foaming all over the place. I've never really used Gorilla Glue for anything for that reason. I tend to go with the philosophy that if you use enough super glue, you can glue anything to anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to use super glue, and then things fell off a ton.
Yeah, not all super glue is legit anymore here. Well,
the one problem with super glue is it doesn't have any flex at all.
Yes. It'll just snap.
Yeah. I will say though, with Gorilla Glue, if you get the 2-part epoxy version that come in the 2 tubes you squeeze together to mix it as it comes out, it dries to a clear. It looks like, I think it actually is resin. I think about it, or has a resin something. And when you want like a controlled stream that is a lot more gelatinous, like when I made a creek in my fantasy dioramas for a fantasy game I was making, there was like a creek in the dark forest that the elves go by, and I created the creek with some foam and some acetate, and then I filled it with, I just used the Gorilla Glue of the 2-part epoxy and just slowly traced the creek bed with that, and it filled the creek bed up with clear Gorilla Glue until it just eventually hardened into that.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, this way I could have, because I didn't want to sit there and mix the exact amounts of resin and activator together just for a tiny little creek. in a diorama. So I just bought two bottles of the 2-part epoxy Gorilla Glue at Walmart and got the same effect.
I'll tell you an adhesive that is really good is I used to, for years, I swore by Liquid Nails. They had a formula that was clear and it worked great. And then they stopped making it and they stopped carrying it. And finally I got so desperate I called the company and I said, why can I not find this clear anywhere? And they said, oh, well, because of more EPA regulations or whatever, they couldn't make it anymore. And so it was being discontinued. But then I found a number of years ago, I was told about something called E6000. And it's pretty much the same stuff. It works the same way. It's a clear glue. It dries relatively quickly, but the nice thing about it is you can remove it if you have to. So like you could glue a figure down to something and it's going to dry pretty quickly. It's clear, and if you wanted to remove it, you actually can remove it.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
So it's handy for a broad range of stuff. Like pretty much there's about, besides wood glue, there's mainly like 3 glues I use. I use super glue, E6000, and then I use this stuff called Alima's tacky glue, and you can get it just about anywhere, like Walmart or something like that. And it's like a brown tube. I think they have 2 different sizes, but it's not like a squeeze tube like a toothpaste tube would be. It's actually a bottle, but it's a squeeze bottle, and they mean it when they say tacky glue. It sticks by being tacky. So it's also removable. Now it's white, but when it dries, unless it's like really, really thick, when it dries clear. It takes longer to dry than like say E6000 does. But the nice thing about the tacky glue is if you're trying to glue 2 things together and you don't want it to dry too fast and put 2 parts together that might not be where you want them, you can use that, and then you can move the parts around a little bit. The other nice thing about it is it's fairly thin, whereas like the E6000 is a lot thicker. So if, say for example, you wanted to glue the bottom of someone's feet, but have them on a flat piece of plastic or something like that, where you're not going to cover it up by foliage. The E6000, you would really have to press the crap out of it to make sure it's a very, very thin layer between the 2 parts, where the Alima's tacky glue, it's a little bit thinner consistency. And it's not like watery consistency, but it's a lot thinner, so you can, push 2 parts together a lot tighter than you could with the other one. So, but yeah, I mean, those 3 glues, that's about all I use for almost everything.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Oh no. Here we go. I remember seeing this one in person. I think you had this one at RetroCon.
Oh yeah, this is one of my favorites. Like that dumpster is what is that called? It's a recipe box.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was trying to figure out what it was. One of the tin ones?
Yeah, it's one of the tin ones. I removed the lid and sand down the hinges so no one gets cut. And then I cut pieces of a trash bag and tied them together with a little bit of trash, and you got a dumpster.
Now, obviously, that's the Punisher. Who are the other 2 figures?
Oh, they're just... I made them to be random goons. The one on the right's a wrestler of some sort.
Okay.
And the one in the middle is... what is his name? He is from the Suicide Squad. He was like the sergeant. the leader of the
Oh, okay.
group.
Okay. Yeah, this is Jim E. Goon and Mike Y. Thug there.
Yes, pretty much. I found wrestling. I found out like wrestling figures are the perfect thugs because
Yeah.
they got perfect outfits and it just works out. And you can find them cheap. It's
Yeah,
like
it's
Yeah,
true.
you always see wrestling figures around. Let me ask you, Ben, before you go on, you said you were a G.I. Joe guy, right?
yeah.
And,
But you don't have any dioramas of a G.I. Joe.
I know, I haven't seen
For
either.
me, turning a GI Joe into a diorama is heresy.
That's how much you love them. I see.
Yeah, I love them too much to do that to them.
Now, are you an O-ring guy or a 4-inch, 4-inch guy? 25th
Both.
anniversary. Oh, really?
Yeah, I have both. I have the original O-ring figures, like back from the '80s. I have almost all the originals that first came out and the vehicles, and then I have the newer stuff like the 30th anniversary and the stuff that recently came out. They're all really good figures.
Yeah.
I think the newest ones, their paints are sometimes a little off. So like when they
the
brought
retro.
out, I'm sorry, what's that?
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, they had a Lady Jane set, like it was a 2-pack, and you had to be careful because half of them, she was cross-eyed.
Oh, the 2-packs from like 2014, I think it was. 2014.
I think these were like 2018. I
Oh,
think.
maybe a little bit later. Yeah, I wasn't paying attention that much back then.
Oh, yeah. I don't remember what they were called. They were like the last real G.I. Joe 3-inch set. And then you had the Snake Eyes figures, which are bad. They're just bad.
Like, what do you feel on the retro collection set?
The retro collection?
The Walmart 4-inch ones?
Oh, yeah. I have a handful of them. I found like the Cobra Trooper, and I bought him. Since I already have like, okay. Sorry. I have a bunch of the figures already. I didn't feel the need to collect a lot of them.
Okay.
I bought the His Tank. I found that. I'm like, okay, I have one for my collection and then one to resell in a couple years.
Gotcha.
But those are cool.
I've always wanted to do like how you did the broken down what's it called? Not degradation. That word that Eric couldn't think of earlier. When
the thing that probably has a name.
Destitute. The Destitute. It's something like that where it's like broken down. So
Yeah,
I always
like
want to do a His Tank
age.
like that.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
The nice thing is, in a situation like that, you can get a beater, and it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
You can find a bunch of the one thing you can find is like a bunch of broken ones, especially at yard sales.
Yeah, one thing I'm trying to find is I don't really collect G.I. Joe so much, but I like taking other vehicles and repurposing them, and
Yeah.
I set out to get a Skyhawk from G.I. Joe, but the one thing that I hate about it is that it didn't have a windshield. It just had the outside of it. And then I found the 25th anniversary one where it did have a windshield. The problem is, like, I'm looking at $50, if not more, for it usually.
Wow. Yeah.
And the other thing that's nicer about the 25th anniversary one is it has beefier skids to it with more detail. So I've been keeping my eye open, and every time I would find one on eBay that had a windshield, it was some sort of variation that was like even more expensive than the regular 25th anniversary one. It would be like, here's one in like gray camo colors, $85,
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I think that they called it the Ghost Talk or something like that.
Let's see. I think there's a newer edition, but I forget its name.
Well, I got one and I think I paid $40, maybe with the shipping and everything, where it has different engines instead of just having like two cylindrical pods. The engines are, I don't know how to describe them. They look more futuristic. The engine pods on it.
Okay.
And it has a canopy that unfortunately isn't like what I really want. It's almost all solid. And I think there might be a little translucent red thing in the front. So it almost looks like it could be a drone and not piloted, because the way the canopy is solid, except for that little red lens near the front. I don't even know what that version of it's called. It was the only time I had ever seen it. Got it for a decent price. But
I
I
know
really
if I could
need a
see
canopy
it,
that has a windshield. And I'm going to repaint it, so I don't even care if the body's one color, the canopy's another, and the windshield is, separate from that, because I'll just repaint the body or whatever. But
I'm trying to think. I think there's a newer version. I forget what anniversary it is. 40th, 50th, one of those. And they had one of those come out in a set. I can't remember the name of it, though. Unfortunately, there's so many.
Ghost Hawk
like
sounds
sets.
familiar. Yeah, what you said earlier, Ghost Hawk. I think that sounds close to what it was.
yeah,
I think that
they
one's
got
cheaper.
so many repaints and retools of that, so I can't even remember them all. But I get tons of notifications every day from eBay. I can there's easily like 20 postings for
Oh, wow.
Skyhawk a day. It's pretty crazy. The other thing I repurposed lately, and actually just finished it yesterday, and I give credit and inspiration to Jake James for doing this, but he had taken an Adventure People little 6-wheeled Ranger car, and I had actually had one when I was a kid, but he had taken one and repurposed it as a little Jawa rover. And so I'm like, oh, that's cool. I want to do something like that. So I got a hold of one, pretty cheap on eBay. And the one thing I realized was it's good it works as a Jawa car, because you could not fit another Star Wars figure in it. Because part of the problem is, even though the Adventure People were 3 3/4 inch scale figures, they were very slim about the hips. And I remember as a kid that those figures fit in that vehicle tight. And I tried a couple different Star Wars figures, even ones that were a little bit smaller, like some of the female figures.
Yeah.
And in a lot of cases, even if you would be able to get them, like I took a battle droid, okay? I'm like, a battle droid is pretty thin. I'll try to fit him in. I still had to scrunch his legs up in order to get him to fit in that seat. So
fun.
So it is definitely scaled to be a Jawa rover, because I don't think it would work for much else except Adventure People, maybe.
Some of those toy lines are like that.
Yeah, that's one of the things that frustrates me is I understand trying to keep the scale down for cost of tooling and plastic and everything, but they take it a little bit far. I picked up a G.I. Joe, the Jeep, but it was the Cobra version, the black one.
Yes, the Stinger.
And so I picked that up because I always thought that was a cool design. Like, I would love to have one of those in real life that looked that way, or badass. But you cannot properly get a figure to fit in there.
No.
And
it can be difficult.
I'm like, oh, okay, so I understand now why they have that little bump in the roof, so that they can fit their heads in it.
So they don't get stuck.
And they kind of have to,
like that.
yeah, and they have to kind of sit at a slight angle to get their feet in there. So I took it and I cut out part of the wheel well so that the feet would fit better, but it is still a ridiculously tight fit. And I'm like, I don't even know if I want to deal with it. I didn't pay a whole lot for it. I think I paid like $25 for it.
That's not bad at all.
That's not bad at all.
It's not bad, but now I probably couldn't get that much if I sold it because I started cutting pieces away and modifying it. I cut
Oh,
the
no.
I cut the deck off the back because I was going to try to make it fit like put a droid socket or something in the back, so it's more like a pickup.
Yeah.
Was this a vintage or one of the newer ones?
No, it's one of the vintage ones. Like I bought it. It didn't have the missile rack on the back, like that was missing and everything.
That's not the important. That's not the expensive piece. The expensive piece is the steering wheel. No
steering wheel. No
Okay.
steering.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, then it was more of like a build piece.
Yeah, because the expensive pieces are the back, the front roll bar, the back roll bar, and the or in the track that goes, and then the steering wheel is worth more. Is worth the whole thing by itself.
Yeah,
Wow.
some of those sets are like that. There's a was it? I own the hydrofoil, which is a boat, and I don't have the piece, but one of the most expensive pieces is a glass light.
Oh,
yeah,
yep,
dude.
Yep. I had the hydrofoil.
And let's see, there's quite a few pieces I have that are like the Wolverine, the little tank tread one with the missiles. The what was it called? It's like the tow hitch.
Yeah, the tow rope on it. Yeah,
I have that, and it's like really expensive.
Yeah, G.I. Joe, man, they made some of the best vehicles and stuff like that. And I think, except for the Jeep, like all the other Joe vehicles I had fit the figures just fine. I never had the Jeep when I was younger.
Because I'm younger, my personal favorite are you get the Spy Troops vehicles, and one of my personal favorite vehicles is a tank called the Patriot Grizzly. It's like one of the biggest tanks in the G.I. Joe toy line, and it's just awesome to use. It's like I have it in the box right behind me. I got to open it up because I want to make sure the watch batteries didn't explode.
Yeah, the shame of it is a lot of those vehicles we're never going to see again unless they were to do like a HasLab or something, which is surprising. That I don't think they've done a G.I. Joe HasLab, have they?
They just did.
Oh yeah,
They
the
did.
Sky
The Sky
Striker
Striker.
they're doing.
This guy, I saw it and I drooled, and I'm like, I don't have the money, but I want.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so if you had a G.I. Joe Holy Grail, what would it be?
The USS Flag.
Okay.
I want the aircraft carrier so bad.
No. Let's refine that question. If you wanted a modernized version or the vintage,
If I could get I don't know. I love the vintage, but a modernized one would probably be cooler.
agreed. I love vintage too, and I want one. But
What was it? Oh,
have you seen G.I. Joeberg in those in like Retro Blasting when they add the bottom part, the bottom decks, like the lower decks,
yes.
put it on wheels? Yeah.
I forget. It was at Hershey. When I was putting everything together for the table, I just see this guy's putting the USS Flag slowly together, just teasing me. I was like, I want this so bad, but I should not spend the money because it was like $1,000.
Oh yeah.
I'd take that right now. They're 1,700.
Yeah, the problem is, I mean, just the space on that thing. My Grail, like I never cared about getting the flag because for one, I didn't have the jet.
Yeah,
But for me, it was that Defiant shuttle. Oh my gosh,
that is cool. That's another. Cool
I
one.
remember just like staring at catalogs, just being like, "Oh my gosh, if only I could have this."
The other one I want to find is it was at the end of the G.I. Joe toy line before they took like a couple year break. Well, I think it was a couple decades, honestly. It is a sci-fi mech. It was at the end of their lifespan. They had these giant mechs.
Oh, during the Space Marines era.
Yes, it was like towards the end where they brought in alien figures.
Yep, Gung Ho was in one of it. Yeah, Space Cobra Commander. Yep.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wasn't really paying attention like at that point. I was
It
kind
was,
of out of that.
Yeah, there was a big mech. It was right after all that talk off all the Eco Warrior stuff. Eric,
Yep.
remember the Eco Warriors?
Oh yeah,
It came
yeah.
right after that because they had heard the rumor that they were going to restart the well the lore is that they heard the rumor that George was thinking about restarting the Star Wars toy line, and so the G.I. Joe crew wanted to try to get in on some of that. So
Yeah,
which they
because
made. Oh, go ahead.
no, I didn't mean to interrupt. I did.
They made some great horrible aliens too. By the way, in that
Oh
line.
yeah.
Well, I remember there, like that whole era, they did some weird stuff. Like, remember they had that one dude where like his back half was a snake and stuff.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's what we're talking. That's what we're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was he was an alien.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're talking about Cobra Law?
I
The
I don't
movie?
Might be
remember. I just
Cobra
remember
Law.
they did like weird stuff
That
for
was
a
a
while.
G.I. Joe movie, and that movie's weird.
Yeah, the movie was like a Cthulhu-esque dream. Which, if you guys ever get a chance,
Kinda
and
worked.
any of our listeners get a chance to, Mike Mercy, who is also a big GI Joe YouTuber, he's a big vintage toy guy. About 3 or 4 years ago, he did an interview with Buzz Dixon, who
Oh
was
yeah,
one of
Buzz.
the who was one of the original writers from the original 2 miniseries and the original first season. I think second season too. And he explains why they did that because apparently the Cobra Law was the B plan for telling the origins of Cobra and Cobra Commander. There was an entire A plan they had planned for it that didn't involve Serpentor for the
Oh,
second
that's
season.
interesting.
Yeah. But when they pitched it to not the Sunbow, to whoever was paying Sunbow for the money to make it,
Yeah.
they said, we like them both. And they're like, what? No, we're supposed to. Like, well, we're going to do with it. And so he's like, oh, okay. So the original plan for season 2, that instead of making Serpentor the DNA created emperor of Cobra, was going to be the original origin of Cobra as a philosophy and how Cobra Commander basically scammed this guy out of his big organization, took it over. He put it into a book that you can buy on I think Amazon or Kindle or something, called The Most Dangerous Men in the World or something like that. And he sat there and it took him a while to get back into the GI Joe mode. And it takes place in modern day for GI Joe, which is kind of catches you off guard because they're using like data pads and smartphones. But it explains why Cobra troopers and why Cobra recruits stay in Cobra so much, and how this organization got built up and how it became.
They got great dental. That's what it is.
I wish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's a little aside from that, but that's something I suggest if you guys want to check out. It's a Mike Mercy interview from like 3 or 4 years ago.
That sounds really cool.
So, speaking of HasLab, what are your guys' thoughts on the Rancor?
I have not seen it yet. I mean, I could take a look now.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, they just released a painted prototype finally. It's in the Black Series, so it's like 6-inch scale. The thing's enormous.
Oh wow. Okay, I see.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Matt?
Like I said, I'm not a 6-inch guy, so I mean it looks great. Costs a lot. It's $350.
It lost a bunch of backers. Like after they released the last tier, like so many people like were like, "Screw this, I'm out."
Well,
they have a carded Salacious Crumb. It's like, what does that even have to do with the Rancor?
Well, bringing it back to this conversation with dioramas, it does come with a diorama backdrop and the sand with those little skulls.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, weren't those skulls from Walmart though?
No. You're thinking of those
those science ones, right? With the little box in the crates.
Yeah. Now the skulls were, well, they had a Java skull, and a Salacious skull, I think, which wouldn't be to scale, but they had a Zabrak and a Gamorrean, and those technically would be to scale probably for that Rancor. Or no. I'm sorry. No, they weren't 6-inch scale. They were like 12-inch scale.
Oh wow!
So they were like 112.
Wow.
Those skulls. So yeah,
Those are
you
serious.
couldn't use them. Actually, the Jabba skull would possibly be close to 6-inch scale, but that would be weird.
Interesting.
You could do a what if story. What if his minions got sick of him and they dropped his ass into the Rancor pit? But yeah, the skulls are kind of nice. The diorama part, I mean, it's just a printed cardboard backdrop. Big whoop. I think what makes sense, and it might be on one of the later tiers, they might be able to pull some people back in, was it's a Rancor. The Luke makes sense. Not exciting, but makes sense. The Rancor Keeper, that makes sense. Ula, that makes sense. And there are a lot of people that were saying, look, if they had Ula or the Rancor Keeper, they would have stayed on, or that would get them to buy it. I think there's something weird going on with the neck joint, where there's like too big of a gap between the head and the back of the neck. The funniest thing I ever heard was someone said it looked like it needed circumcised or something.
Oh wow!
Wow.
So that joint is really a blemish on the sculpt, I think.
I
where
thought
I think
it looked weird looking at the pictures here. This looks off.
you get what I'm saying though, like about the
Yeah, it looks like the arms are
neck
too
joint
big
is
to
weird.
me. Because I've thought that in the last few Rancor sculpts from over the last.
If one of you wants to share it, I don't have it up. We should probably
Well,
if you have a picture.
I see here someone put Cookie Monster's head on it.
Ha. That's funny on multiple levels, because Cookie Monster was the first of the HasLabs to fail. So
Was it? That's
Oh,
unfortunate.
maybe that's what they're trying to say. We're going to have another Cookie Monster on our hands.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I see what they're
All right,
doing.
let me share a screen here so I can Chrome tab. What am I looking at? Black Series Rancor share. There we go. All right. So here's the big ugly guy.
Yep.
With 40.
Yeah, that neck gap is bizarre.
It
I don't know.
looks very weird.
Why wasn't that gap put back here? Do you see my cursor?
Yeah.
Where his natural folds are, to hide that, and then he couldn't turn it and couldn't turn his head as much, but it would.
Well,
make
it almost looks like the head. All it needs to be is a little bit bigger and a little bit further forward, and that would close right up.
Let me see here. Here's how. See, I've always thought.
YMCA, he's like dancing.
Yeah, I've always thought since they did the Rancor that his arms are too big, and too long and lanky.
Well, they kind of are. I mean, he's like a little bit more like a gorilla.
I'd have to look at my books again to see.
What really frustrates me is the last Rancor we got, which is the one I have, is the one that came in that Toys R Us 3 3/4 Black Series set.
You got that one too.
And it's a decent sculpt, but like it pretty much has to rest on its front arms because they're extended kind of far forward.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of front heavy. And you can't pose it that well. I would love if they took this and fixed the head, but if they took this and shrunk it down to 3 3/4 inch scale, you put that puppy up for sale, boom, I got it pre-ordered right away because I think the Rancor is like one of the coolest movie monsters ever.
Just weird. Yeah, I agree. I don't know.
I just
At that
think
point, if we're gonna go random, put in Boba Fett. It's like that would make more sense.
I would. I would agree with you. Put in. I mean, the Luke makes sense. Maliki makes sense. Ula makes sense.
Gamorrean even makes sense.
Gamorrean
So-
does make sense. I would make it a Gamorrean that you could detach the leg or arm off of, so you get
Yeah.
that little shot where like he just sucks in when he starts to eat him, and then the camera goes away and then comes back, and all you see is him sucking in the last little like foot to his mouth.
That'd be
kind of,
interesting.
yeah. Here's the backdrop. Really, they should have gave us the grate or the door, is what they should have done as a tier.
That would be cool if we could have the door.
Yeah, I mean the door. I mean you're getting the Luke, you get the door, you get the skulls to use. You can make that. You can make the Rancor dead underneath the door if you want to.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Salacious Crumb. He's a repack from. We might have extra articulation, but he's a 2013 repack. Luke we got 2 years ago, but he's being totally renewed, so he's all new.
The Salacious might be nice for people that weren't able to get the well. No,
compound.
actually, isn't it being included in some Disney set? I think.
Yeah, he is.
Probably.
Yeah, in the monster set that
Yeah.
just came out, $35.
Well, either way, no matter how you want to get Salacious, it's an exclusive of some sort.
Yeah.
Every which way it's offered.
But here's the thing, like, there's one new figure here, which is Luke, which is a figure they just got repacked, or they just got remade 2 years ago.
Yeah.
All right, in 2019. So the bones are new, Luke's new. Salacious is probably going to be a retool off one of those, and this is a straight repack just on cards.
Yep.
That's why people were wanting Maliki or Ula to have something just totally new to go with it. I guess technically the skulls are new. Eric, do these look like some of those skulls from that set?
Yeah, but like I said, they wouldn't be scaled.
I'm just wondering. Well, they might just it might be just a file they print them out in. And
Yeah.
Yeah, I was upset that I think it was Uncle Milton that made those. And after they had the skulls, they were supposed to come out with a Tauntaun skeleton and a Rancor skeleton. And I was like, I am there. I am all about that. And then more and more time went on, and we weren't hearing anything about it. And I messaged Uncle Milton. I said, hey, when are these things coming out? And they said, oh, they're not coming out now.
Yeah, that's lame.
Here's
you do a Force Unleashed diorama.
Yep.
I've heard some people say they might buy one and do the bull Rancor for the Pollutions to ride.
Yeah.
But I mean, here's the thing. It's a little overpriced in my opinion. I could see them doing this because I mean it's big, yes. Is it as big as the Razor Crest? No. Is it as big as the Java Sail Barge? Not so. I understand paint apps and I understand articulation does count for a lot.
Well, the other thing too is, they'll have these price tags and then they'll unlock these tiers, and it's like, well, the higher the tiers get, the more bang for your buck you're getting. So if it never reached even the first tier, you're paying what was it, $350? Is it $350? Yeah, you're paying $350 for just the Rancor. But once you add in, you now have two figures that are, well, the Gamorrean was one of the deluxe, so he goes for what, like 30, 35? So you deduct 35 there, 22 on the Luke, and maybe 10 to 15 on the Salacious. You deduct those things from the overall price, and technically you're paying less for the Rancor. And if someone really didn't care about those figures, they now have carded figures they can sell that unless someone got the Rancor, it's the only way they're going to get that packaged version of it. Kind of like the...
that is so cool.
So someone was complaining. They were like, oh, if your plan is to sell off those other figures to make up some of the money, you're kidding yourself. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. That's exactly what people were doing with the yak face that came with the sail barge.
Yeah.
It had exclusive packaging and a cup with it. And people were getting like $200+ for that. Yeah, they were making 50% of their money back.
I would think so.
Here's that new Sky Striker HasLab. It's a 2-seater.
I like
this
that
time.
they have the flame effect.
I only looked because I was watching you guys' streams, and they mentioned histank.com. I'm like, I wonder what's new on there. And then I saw this and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
Well,
didn't HasLabs also make was a giant snake statue from the cartoon? Or is that a different company?
giant snake statue?
It's like from the cartoon, it was a giant cobra snake statue, and it was I forget what it was called. Let me look here. Maybe see if I can find it.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's probably not Hasbro.
Well, I like it because it's a retool because it a totally new tool is what they said it is. It's now it's 2-seater like it should be, and you can also get the stickers to make it the not McDonald, Northrop Grumman Group, which I assume they're the ones who actually own the license to the F-14 Tomcat. So that's why they offered that to make that an actual F-14 if you wanted to. Even though it's not technically supposed to be an F-14, but But look at all the little accessories, and it's only $230. You get the Sky Striker.
It's a nice deal.
You get Ace. You get the dude who was on the original box art that was never actually in the show or in a comic. He was just on the box art. Then they actually get parachutes that open up. There, Wayne.
There's like
Russell.
a lot of detail.
Yeah. Then you get Scarlet in basically an Ace repaint. So, but it comes with the Scarlet head, so she can pilot it. You get Ripcord, which I can't remember if this is Ripcord's Night Force version. Is it Night Force Ripcord?
It might be Night Force. I think so because it's the regular version's green.
Yep, you're right. Yep, Night Force color Ripcord, and this is awesome right here. Red shirt and yellow shirt. Which, if I remember correctly, these are actual aircraft carrier crew outfits. Because I remember yellow shirt being like the head of a team on an aircraft crew.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and so you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 figures if you hit all the tiers, plus 2 vehicles, which is a missile rack and a fuel refueler, plus all this stuff and a stand that can put it in dynamic poses for you.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Going back to the diorama. Oh, that brings the question: have you done any aerial dioramas or flight dioramas?
Not yet. I'm planning on it, but I have not. I have ships and like helicopters and stuff on standby. I'm just figuring out a way that I wanted to make it look like it's flying, but not too obvious that it's on a stand.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Like a clear rod or something. I mean, what you could do is say, like the helicopter was in front of a mountain or something like that was a little bit taller than it, and you have the rod come out the back of what your backdrop is and into the side of the helicopter. So that way, you look at it 45 degrees one way, 45 degrees another way, and you can't necessarily see that rod holding it. That might be a good way to do it.
That would be a good idea. I'll have to keep in mind.
I mean that's the way they have to do it in movies a lot of times, where they'll have a actual rig, and they'll have this big beam, off somewhere, and it's just cut off camera, or it's just done at an angle where you can't see it. Well, you had mentioned helicopters, and we were talking about like HasLabs and stuff. Ben, are you a Airwolf fan at all?
No, but I've seen some of it. It's been a while since I've seen it though.
I came across this this Kickstarter. It had just ended, so unfortunately, I think I paid just slightly more because I was 24 hours after the actual campaign. There's this guy making kits of Airwolf, but they're true scale. So there's things like 3 feet long or something like that front to tail. Yeah, it's really big, and you can take off the sides and front, and it has all the detail inside the cockpit and stuff. Now you could buy it multiple ways. You could get it where it was completely finished, and then you could get it where it's a kit and you put it together yourself, which is how I got it, and that was still $300.
Jeez.
And then he also had a couple stretch goals where, and you can kind of buy them separately too. Now that it's done, where you could get the Santini's helicopter, which is the Bell Jet Ranger that has like the American flag colors. You could get that helicopter. You could get a set of figures. Now, that was like $170 alone for, I think, 4 or 5 figures, and I'm like, I really only care about 2 figures for it. And I figured, screw it, I'll customize something myself, for those. But it's pretty impressive looking, and I got to check again when it's due. I probably still have till like April at least, I think, till it's going to get done. But I was always an Airwolf fan, and I'm like, do I want to drop that? Yes, I do.
I get you. I've only ever supported like one Kickstarter, or like, and that was for a video game that's coming out soon.
Oh, yeah. Well, the cool thing about it is, in a lot of cases with the fan-made stuff, it's cool because it's rare, especially if like they do a certain number, that's it.
Yeah.
Then you're one of a very limited number of people that have it. I think the other thing too is that the fans, because they're looking at it from the perspective of a fan, they say, I want it to be 100%. Like I want it to be accurately scaled. I want it to have everything it should have, where a major manufacturer is going to cut corners. They're going to say, well, we need it a little bit undersized. Well, we need it less accuracy. We'll need less of these details. So, I haven't done a lot of Kickstarters. I think this might actually only be my second that I've backed. The first one was for a comic book, because indie comic books, that's how almost all of them have to raise their money.
Oh yeah,
so
I follow a few.
Yeah, myself included.
Oh, you have an indie comic?
Yeah, called
cool.
Sporkman.
Sporkman.
So you can check it out if you go to getspork.com, and we also have a channel too. So if you look up Sporkman Studios on either Rumble or YouTube. As a matter of fact, Wednesday I'm going to be doing a stream for that channel too.
Oh, I see. That's cool.
But yeah, that a couple friends and I created that back in like 2005, and we did the first comic. It was just kind of going to be a one-off thing, and then we came up with an idea to do another one, and we actually finished all of those issues like years ago, and then we just sat on it for the longest time and didn't do anything, because we didn't have the money to pay for an artist, because none of us are doing the artwork. And we decided a couple of years ago we wanted to relaunch, and we thought, well, rather than come up with something entirely new from scratch, let's maximize the quality of what we already have. So we actually paid to go back and get everything colorized that we had done before. And now that we just finished doing that, now we're looking at doing the next storyline and stuff.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's fun. If have you ever seen The Tick?
Yeah.
The humor is a little bit like that, where it doesn't take itself too seriously.
I like the design. He's hysterical but cool at the same time.
Yeah. Well, one thing we did is we made it that he is legit. Like he's goofy but legit. Like I've always hated stuff where Inspector Gadget is the example I always use. Like, it was always his niece and her stupid computer book that actually like solved everything. And it's like, no, 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 no. He's the hero. He can be bumbling, but he still should be the one that actually, saves the
Does
day or whatever.
I remember I like the old one a lot more. If you watch the Netflix version, the first season's okay, and I like certain parts about it. But then later seasons, he gets more and more stupid. Where I'm like, okay, you gotta stop now. It's not funny anymore. I'm concerned now. I think he has a mental issue by the end of it. And I'm like, it's no longer funny. It's slightly concerning.
Yeah, I've tried to avoid it. Like I watched the first live action one because it was only a few episodes, but I purposely have avoided like reading the comic or anything like that because I don't want to be subconsciously influenced by anything where people say that's a little bit like the Tick, and I'm like, oh gee, did I kind of like maybe take from that too much, so we just kind of do our own thing with it. And
I get it.
Like all the stories are usually, wouldn't it be funny to put Sporkman in this kind of thing, like in Goes to Japan? Wouldn't it be funny to see Sporkman dealing with like anime stuff? And wouldn't it be funny to put him in like an Indiana Jones movie or an Alien Invasion movie? So that's kind of how we do our storylines and stuff.
That's really cool. I work on my own writing. I'm writing like some TV series and stuff like that, and a board game. But
Cool.
I got a little bit. I'm still in the board games in the prototype phase, so I got a while.
Yeah. Well, do a Kickstarter for that.
Oh, I might. We'll definitely see.
Well, we're going on like like 2 hours, so I think we're going to wrap it up a bit. So Ben, where can people find your work?
All right. Well, I got a list, but on Instagram it is Perfetto's Panorama Diorama. That's my business name, is Perfetto's Panorama Diorama. And you can find me on Instagram under that name, Facebook, and YouTube as well. So.
Oh, okay. So do you have video where you're just showing off all this stuff?
Instagram, I do. I used to post things on YouTube, and then I gotta repost everything because when they added a bunch of like rules and stuff, I didn't know how it was gonna affect my channel.
Oh, okay.
So I gotta repost everything on there. But right now, I'm mainly posting on Instagram and Facebook. So come say hi.
All right, cool. And where can people find you, Matt? Matt?
He's gone. Panic. Someone send the rescue.
I hear him running back to the microphone. Hey, Matt?
I was mean, my bad.
Oh.
Sitting here talking.
Hey, where can people find you?
Oh, okay. People can find me on Instagram at Rezakai the Ghost. Technically, I'm on Twitter, but not that much. It was great having you on here, Ben. Can't wait to have you back, man.
Thank you. I really enjoyed having to talk here. I didn't realize it was honestly going to be so quick to me. I was expecting another hour.
Oh, what? You thought it was going to be like 3 hours?
Yeah, I'm not like, I'm good with whatever. I just thought it was funny. I'm like, we're done already?
Well, it goes by fast as well.
Yeah, it went fast. I actually didn't think it was going to be all that long, but when you're just talking about stuff that you enjoy, you just kind of go off on tangents and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I actually just recently had done a stream that was like 3.5 hours, and by the time we ended it, like I was having trouble putting words together that made sense. It was like 12:30, and we're like, ugh.
I'm dead.
Yeah. Well, all right, and people can find me at holeinthegroundpro.com. They can also find Hole in the Ground Productions on Rumble. They can find Hole in the Ground Productions on Facebook. And I have a little commercial for the outro, and so everyone will get it anyway.
Kessel Run Collecting is sponsored by Hole in the Ground Production, where you can find a broad range of do-it-yourself diorama kits for 3 3/4 and 6-inch scale action figures. Check them out now at holeinthegroundpro.com. Be sure to like and subscribe on Rumble. Kessel Run Collecting is not affiliated with Lucasfilm or Disney. All sounds and images are property of their respective copyright holder.